things necessary for you to thrive in physical reality.
So another question about being here on Earth and recognizing that at any given moment, there's a certain amount of suffering that's going on between animals and people. And then there's this birth and new life and joy and happiness that's also going on here.
Yes.
And for people who are attracted to being positive and being in the light, so to speak, how can they look at the pain and suffering without feeling bad about being here or being afraid that it might happen to you?
You have to learn the vibration of compassion. You have to understand that every path is different. And again, as we just said, everyone is an eternal, infinite, indestructible spirit. Many spirits will choose certain paths that may look like suffering to you, but for very specific purposes of learning different kinds of experiences and lessons and transforming and overcoming them, which allows them to feel their power. And therefore, again, the idea is that everything can be used in a positive context. When you succumb to the idea of feeling bad about it, instead of feeling compassion for those people and helping where you can, helping them to learn how to transform those things, then all you're doing is adding more negativity to the things that they've already chosen to experience. And again, remember, it may simply be a matter of education. If they don't have the toolkit to understand how they can transform these things, you can give it to them if you do, and that would be an expression of your compassion. Not that they have to listen to you, but at least you've given them an opportunity to transform these things and gain the wisdom and the knowledge that they sought in the first place by allowing themselves to buy into belief systems that brought them into those kinds of experiences. So, from compassion, you can be a teacher. You can be a living example of what they could choose. But again, you have to allow them the opportunity not to choose it, because you see them as a powerful being that's learning a lesson, and not as somebody who is actually weak enough to suffer endlessly and not know why they're there. Everything will be reconciled and everything will be used to positive intent one way or another at some point, whether physical or non-physical. Nothing is wasted.
So are the greater density level planets, is there always pain associated with those lower density or higher densities and suffering? And so what is it unique about this level of density that seems to bring about so much negativity and pain?
Well, this level, this vibration offers the opportunity to experience or relate to these ideas of resistance within the natural self in a painful way. Where there are a few other realities that may experience ideas of resistance, but it doesn't translate as pain. But the vibrational reality of Earth at this time and the way you're experiencing it offers the opportunity to experience resistance as the phenomena you call pain.
So here it functions as a kind of guiding mechanism if you're experiencing pain.
Because when you experience pain, that's a very good guiding mechanism for letting you know you're out of alignment with your true vibration.
How do human bodies utilize the electromagnetic field of Earth? And are there other untapped uses for the electromagnetic field?
Oh, absolutely. Well, first of all, the human body can utilize it in a number of ways. First of all, you can use it for directional orientation, just as many animals do. You can utilize it to accelerate and spin up, shall we say, the electromagnetic field of your own bodies that is generated by your body, so that in matching the frequency of the Earth's electromagnetic field, you can feel a little bit more energized by mirroring it and tapping into it. Eventually, you will learn to use the electromagnetic field, as a few isolated individuals throughout your history have learned to use it, to generate unlimited free energy. There are many different things you can do with the electromagnetic field that you have yet to realize.
Okay, and also for healing?
Yes, of course.
So basically for free energy, for healing.
Yes.
Sounds good. A lot of people have questions about soul contracts.
Yes.
Like one question that's come up is if you make a soul contract on a certain level, and then you're here on earth and you're living your life and you decide you don't want that soul contract anymore, how are you empowered to change that? Do you have to go to the higher level to do it? Can you just make a statement? I decide I want a different contract, or how
No.
does that work?
You have to find a way to learn the lesson that the contract originally intended. You can always find a different way to learn the lesson, and you don't have to do it while you're physical, but you've made a commitment, and the commitment, in a sense, shall we say, has been chiseled into the fabric of existence itself. So the purpose, the intention behind the original soul contract must be fulfilled, but it can be fulfilled in any number of ways. But you can't avoid the commitment that you made in the contract, the reason for the contract. You don't have to do it in the original way you designed the contract, but you do have to fulfill the commitment you made behind the purpose you originally intended the contract to fulfill.
And is often that contract basically about becoming self-empowered
In general, yes.
and self-acceptance?
Yes, but it can have some specific attributes to it that also you have deemed were important for you to learn as a soul. So you may still have to find ways in which to learn those specific things, but again, you can find other ways to do that. As long as you fulfill the intention of the contract, you don't have to fulfill the letter of the contract.
Sort of like the idea of you'll walk down the hall
Yes.
and you can do it many different ways,
Yes.
but ultimately whatever was behind the initial contract that you created for being here,
Yes.
that
Yes.
is something you have to
knew
play
what
in.
you were doing. You knew what you were doing when you chose the intention behind the contract. So attempting to avoid the intention is a form of resistance to the true self. But there are many ways you can go about learning the intention, fulfilling the lesson that you chose to create that contract for. You don't have to do it with the letter of the contract, but it is important to do the intention behind it because you deemed that to be absolutely essential when you created the contract, and therefore it's an essential part of your being as a unique reflection of all that is, and you can't avoid being your true self. You can delay it, but you can't avoid it.
So when you choose to experience life on Earth,
Yes.
one thing you choose is the family you'll be born into,
Generally, yes, for a variety of reasons.
and you'll have some recognition that that particular circumstance, while you can't control the way the negativity is expressed in a sense, because people come here and then they go, well, why am I here and I'm suffering? I'm in this terrible family.
Stop. Yes, you cannot control the way that the negativity may be expressed toward you. You can control the way you choose to receive it. And that's what counts. Because again, remember, it's not about what happens, it's about what you do with what happens that determines how you experience your life. So, no, you can't control the way things may come at you, but you can control the way you receive them when you understand that that's what makes the difference. And that may very well be, in most cases, the very lesson that you chose to learn, to control how you receive what is given to you.
So it also comes down to trusting your higher levels of yourself and recognizing that the choice that was made to be here, regardless of what circumstance you currently find yourself in, that it was designed for you to evolve and to become more of who you truly are.
Yes.
And so it's not a good idea to get mad at your higher levels and say, well, why did you do this to me, or feel victimized by that?
Yes.
Or to be, in a sense, angry at the beings that are in your reality that you may feel put upon by.
Yes, in general. Although do remember, some people have chosen to experience the idea of victimhood as their life choice, so that they can add that to their soul and have a deeper understanding of all those who may be experiencing it in a way that perhaps someday they can help with. So sometimes a person may choose, this life is going to be about experiencing what it's like to be a victim. And I'm not going to change that, because I will deal with the lesson that I've learned from doing that somewhere else. So I'm not saying it's impossible to have a single, shall we say, motive for that particular life and not necessarily be able to change it. That's relatively rare, but it's not impossible. So again, you have to allow for all probabilities and all reasons for the choices that are made. But if you find yourself receiving information that gives you the opportunity to change it, more often than not absolute, but more often than not, the fact that you've attracted information that says you could change that state of being and that mindset is an indication that you can, in this life, do so. Otherwise, if you really were committed to the idea of only being a victim, you would probably never attract any information that would allow you to actually change that state, unless that's part of your victimization theme, is I will see all this information that could tell me I could change, but I absolutely will refuse to connect to it. That's another level of playing the victim to the hilt. But again, that's relatively rare.
I'm actually pretty surprised. So actually you can choose a life here that involves victimhood. And then you may or may not be able to change that depending on
how it serves you not to do so, and how it may serve others not to do so when you finally are capable of applying the lessons you learned by being a victim. But again, if you do attract information that could change that state, it's unlikely that you are absolutely committed to that state alone.
Okay. Would you consider victimization like if someone that's born with a handicap or something like that?
No, not necessarily. No.
Okay.
Again, there are a million reasons why someone may choose that, and they don't necessarily all have to do with victimization.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, it's very interesting to understand how we think at the higher levels.
Yes.
Okay. And many of us are taught on this planet that we're here by mistake and that we need our time here to correct that error. Who in his right mind would choose to leave heaven or the awareness of God's perfect love to experience separation?
Well, similar to what we just said, first of all, you're not here by mistake, you're here by choice. The idea, again, is that you can experience separation to have a greater appreciation of connection. There are, again, any number of reasons why you might choose to forget who you are. One of them primarily being that it gives you the opportunity to remember who you are, but from a new point of view. Remember, in a timeless, changeless state, you don't grow, you don't learn anything new. But when you forget who you are and go through a process of discovering who you are, you come at it from a new perspective, and it's the new perspectives that actually help you expand and grow. So when you say you think you're perfect in the non-physical state, well, you are what you are in any state, and you are perfectly that thing. But you don't necessarily grow when things are timeless and changeless. So growth, expansion, is one of the primary experiences of all that is knowing itself in all the ways that it possibly can. Otherwise, it just becomes a static thing that has no reason for being.
And is the ego necessary? There's been a lot of different viewpoints of like eliminating the ego, and etc.
Yes, we are laughing at that statement.
I know, because you can't be here and experience this without an ego.
The ego is simply the physical personality that allows you the opportunity to experience yourself as a physical being. That's all it is. As we have used the analogy, it's like a diving mask. You decide to go diving in the ocean. If you want to see clearly under the ocean instead of being murky about it, you need a diving mask that gives you clear vision. That's all the ego is. Now, you can let go and not experience the negative ego, but you can't let go of the ego as long as you are physical. So
it's really a distinction between negative and positive ego, right?
Yes, the positive ego just has one function, to allow you to experience physical reality as clearly as possible. It's just the structure you call the physical mind that allows you to know yourself as a physical being. The negative ego is what happens when you give the positive ego too much to do beyond what it's designed to do. You make it think it has to control everything. That would be as silly as saying that the diving mask should have the job of telling you where to go and what to look at. No, it's just that when you decide where to go and what to look at, the diving mask gives you a clear vision of it. It doesn't have the responsibility of figuring out what you should do and when you should do it. But when you think that your physical mind has those responsibilities, that it has to control everything, every single moment, then it becomes overburdened and it becomes the negative ego that thinks it's more than it needs to be. But the ego is just a device to allow you to experience yourself as a physical being. That's all it is.
And as far as like free will, like a lot of people have very strong feelings about free will.
Yes, well, you do have free will within the limitations of the destiny you chose to be you. So free will is, again, what you exercise in physical reality to determine how you will experience the idea of the free will choice you made from spirit to walk down a certain hallway, and that hallway is you. So you can only be you in this particular form at this particular moment because that's what you chose to be. You are a unique path. So you can exercise your free will to be many things and many styles of approach within that path, but you can't be something other than you. That's your destiny, so to speak.
What about like developing psychic abilities while you're here on Earth?
Yes, well, you all have psychic abilities.
What are some ways that you can develop those so that you have a more expanded experience here on Earth?
You raise your vibration. And how do you raise your vibration in the easiest possible way? You follow the formula that we've given all of you of acting on your passion, because that raises your frequency.
Right.
And when you raise your frequency, you are capable of doing many of the things that start to happen spontaneously as side effects from being on a higher level of vibration. Simple as that.
That is really noticeable, that as you follow your excitement and your vibration increases, you do seem much more psychically connected with people you're close to, and
Yes.
like knowing when the phone's going to ring or
Yes.
knowing if somebody's thinking about you. And it just
Yes.
becomes normal.
Exactly. The idea of raising your frequency, I'll put it to you mechanically, kind of pushes your electron aura, your electromagnetic aura, out a little farther, and it has a much more sensitive edge so that it's more capable of connecting to more rarefied things that are not necessarily yet completely crystallized in physical reality, but you can sense them coming because you've made your antenna more sensitive to receiving things that haven't physicalized fully yet. That's all psychic functioning is. So you have to let your aura expand by raising your frequency and allowing it to become a more sensitive electromagnetic organ that can sense things that haven't yet manifested physically.
It's interesting because that sounds a lot like how animals experience their reality, because
They do.
especially animals that are prey animals,
Yes.
because it's like they hear and see things that we aren't familiar or thinking
Yes.
about.
But they also have a heightened electromagnetic field that allows them to sense things that are coming.
So they literally can feel a lot of times whether or not a predator is coming
Yes.
into their field.
Yes, and so can all of you. Many of you have constantly described the idea of knowing when it feels like somebody's watching you and you turn around and see that somebody in fact is staring at you. You can sense these things just like they can. It's just that more often than not, you don't pay attention to those things or think they're just products of your imagination. You see, the animals don't necessarily have the opportunity to think of those things as their imagination. They just simply sense what is.
Right. Like, is there a way to completely stop other people from doing anything violent to you personally?
Yes, by raising your frequency beyond the level in which you might need to experience those things to learn the lessons. So if you allow yourself to learn your lessons through the idea of positive action, being yourself, and being open to learning the lessons and not defining things that happen in a negative way, then yes, you can learn those things and you can raise yourself above the need to jar yourself into learning the lesson by attracting something that you don't prefer.
That's comforting.
Yes, but again, remember, you can't focus on it in a way that says, oh, well, if I can't do that, something's wrong. You have to accept the way in which you're doing things in order to move on to doing them differently. That's the paradox.
Yeah, because there seems like there's a lot of things involved in raising your frequency that we might not exactly understand at this point, but we can understand that when you're following your excitement and you're in that higher state, you're communicating with your higher mind.
Yes.
And your guidance system will work better and better the more precisely you can do that.
Yes, but again, remember, it's not that you're not communicating with your higher mind before that. It's just that going into a higher vibration makes you more aware of the communication that's already been going on.
So, and clearly from that state, you would never see yourself as being victimized by your higher self or higher levels of your own consciousness.
Of course not.
Yeah.
The higher vibrations don't victimize things.
Right.
Only the lower vibrations feel the need to do that.
Are spirit guides real? Like, are they with you every moment? How does this work with spirit guides?
Well, it's not like they watch you take a shower, if that's what you're asking. Spirit guides are real. Yes, of course they are. And they are there in the moments when you truly need them. But remember, they have their own lives to live, even if they're not physical anymore. So it's not like they have to hang around all the time waiting for you to need them. They will be there instantaneously when you do truly need their guidance. But remember, they're just guiding you. They're not living your life for you. They're not figuring everything out for you. They're just giving you the encouragement and a hint here and there, now and then, to help you move in the direction that is true for you. But yes, you all have them, and sometimes they can even take turns, depending upon what their strengths are and what they're learning.
So really, when it comes down to it, the being or the consciousness that is paying attention to you all the time and cares about you as much as you care about you is your higher self.
The higher self, yes, and of course all that is.
Right. But of course, we
other
don't really...
Other beings have things to do, but they will be there according to their commitment to you in whatever way actually works best for all concerned.
But your higher self is there with you